So for this project, we're going to build a contact form for the website that we'll be building, Blue Developer Directory. And it's a form that implements all the tags that we've talked about. We have the input tags, text tags, we have the radio buttons, drop down, and checkboxes, and of course the button. And this is going to be part of the main site that we'll be building in Section 5. In Section 5 I want to talk about CSS more in depth using external style sheets and so forth. So what we're going to do now is, if you go into the Section 4 project files, you'll see a done folder and a parts folder. And the contact form done.html is this here that you see here. What we're going to do is go into the parts folder and the page body HTML, grab that, copy it, and open a new file, paste it, and I'm going to save it as index.html. And you won't have this file in your folder. You can go along with the video and create it in the project files folder. Alright, so if we open that, you gotta open it with Chrome. And you don't need to use Chrome, you could use Firefox, IE, whatever you use. And you'll see we have the base layout, the design, we have the header, we have a heading for contact us, and then we have a paragraph. And if you look into the index.html or page body, whatever you're using, you'll see we have some comments, and we have a comment that says form here. This is where we're going to put the form. Now we do have just the form HTML right here in form.html, but I'm actually going to go through it and type a little bit just so you can really get down the syntax. I think it'll be more helpful than just pasting the entire thing. So we're going to do that now. And the first thing we need to add is the opening form tag and then the close form tag. Now this itself isn't going to do much. We need a processor for the form, and like I said before, that's not going to be HTML. It's going to be maybe PHP or another type of language that can actually process the form. But we are going to add the action attribute, which would point to that file. I'm just going to make up a file and say process.php. So that's the action attribute. Next we need the method, and the method, like I said before, we're not going to get into this. This is more server-side stuff. I'm just going to put post. Now in the form is where we'll put all our input tags. And what I'd like to do is, if we go back to the done deal, you'll see we have this. These are labels, the full name, email address. And what we do is we connect these labels to these forms through a label tag. So what I'm going to do here is do an open label tag and a closed label tag. And in between that, we're going to do, not first, we're going to do full name. And the label gets an attribute which is called for. And that's going to match the input field's name. So we're going to call this name to reference the full name input. And right under the label, now the label is inline. It's not a block. So if we can put stuff right after it. So if we, for instance, type test and save, and we reload, you'll see test comes right after full name. If label was a block element, then test would be on the next line. And that's what we want. We want the input to be on the same line as the label. So now we're going to do input type. Your inputs always need a type, and ours is going to be a text box, so just text. Now here we want to do the name. We want the name element, the name attribute, to be name, just like above, just like the label for element. Now the input tag doesn't need a closing tag. This is all we have to do. If this was XHTML, we'd have to add this slash, but this isn't XHTML, so we're not going to do that. So I'm going to save, and if we reload, we'll see we have the input form. I mean the input field, sorry. And I actually want to wrap every label input combination inside a paragraph, just to add some style and some spacing. I'm actually going to move this over, so each input will have it will be in a paragraph tag with its label. So next we're going to do our paragraph tags, and next, let me just see, we're going to do an email address field. So we want to do label for, and we'll call this just email, and we'll say email address, close the label, and now we want the same thing. Input type will be text, and name will match the label and be email. Now you can do some validation. That we can do validation with JavaScript, and we can actually do validation using HTML5, but we're not going to look at that in this section. We're going to do that in a later chapter. So this isn't, we're not going to validate our fields. It's just going to, we just want to display the form for now. And next, I just want to do one more input, one more text field. So I'm just going to copy this, and we're going to change this to phone. And it's going to be text and phone. Alright, so that's going to be it for the text field. So I'm going to save this and reload, and you'll see we have our 3 text fields. The next thing I want to do is going to be the radio buttons, best time to call. I'm going to have 3 options. So I'm going to open a paragraph, because we're going to put every field in paragraph tags, not just the text. And what I want to do here is do the label, just like above. And it's going to be for, we're going to call it call. And in between the label tags, I'm just going to write best time to call. Depending on what editor you have, like for instance Dreamweaver, if you open a label tag and then you type in the whatever in between, and then you start to close it, it'll actually put the label tag there for you, because it saw that you opened the tag, so it'll actually close it automatically. Notepad++ doesn't have features like that, but you can get editors that will help you code like that. But for now, it's actually good that you actually type it out just while you're learning. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to do an input tag, just like above, but it's going to be type radio. And next we're going to name it. We're going to do call. The name will associate it with the label, which has for call. So this will be name call. And let's see, we want to give this option, this radio button, a value, and we're gonna do morning for this value, for this particular button. And yeah, we're just gonna do that for now, and I'll save it and reload. Oh, one thing I forgot is to actually write morning. Save. And what I'm going to do here is, let me see, what do we got here? You'll see we have this spacing here between the labels and the input. We're going to do that in a minute. So right now it's going to look all squished together and it doesn't look very good, but we're going to do the styling after. So next, let's just copy this, paste it, paste that, and now we just need to change the values. the value and the text. So here we'll have afternoon, and then afternoon, and change this to evening, change that, evening. Alright, so now we'll save it, reload. Now we have our three options. Now if someone goes to the page and you want to pre-select one of these, we can do that pretty easily. And you do that by, you go to the input tag that you want to be checked when they first go to the page, and you just put in the text checked. So I'll save that, and then we'll go to this page again, and you'll see morning is checked. Yeah, I could actually, just to demonstrate, I'll put it here, save, and now if we reload, afternoon is pre-checked. So that's a pretty nice feature that you probably use quite a bit with radio buttons. I'm just going to keep the first one checked. Alright, so next, what are we doing next? Next we're going to do the budget field, and it's going to be a drop down with some pre-filled options. So once again, we'll do the paragraph tags, and here the select list drop down isn't actually an input tag, it's a select tag. So we're going to do select, and oh sorry, we got to do the label first. So I'm just going to copy this just to move things along, and we'll call this, what is this going to be called? Budget. So now we can do our select, and we're going to do select type. It's going to be list, and name is going to be budget to match the label field, and that should be it. Now let's just close. Select tags you do need to close, and in between the select tags you have the option tags, and for the option we're going to use a value attribute, and for this we're going to say 100 to 500. Now we're going to close the option tag, and in between that will be the text that the user is going to see. So we'll do 500 to, I'm sorry, 100 to 500. Now let's just save this, reload, and you'll see we have the drop down with one value. What I'd like to do here is actually create an option above it and just do select one and close the option. This will make sure that we don't have any value pre-selected. So you'll see we have select one, and then they can choose. And I'm just going to paste in the rest of the options just to save some time. So I'll reload, and now we have all our options. Alright guys, so now we got one more input field we want to put in this form. So let's go to the original, and the last thing we need to do is add these services needed checkboxes. I actually have these in a table. We have 3 rows, and 2 columns. So I'm not going to type all that in. I'm just going to copy and paste it just to save some time, because we're getting a little late in the video. So I'm just going to paste it, and I'll go over it real quick. We have the paragraph tags, the label, and we have a table with the 3 rows and 2 columns each. And inside the columns we just have an input with a type of checkbox. The name is services, which actually this shouldn't be call, this should be services. So now this label is attached to all these checkboxes, and then we have the value, and then the what the user sees. So that's, well, now we have to add the button. We have one more. We have the submit inquiry button, and I'm going to, hold on a second, where'd that paragraph come from? Alright, so I'm just going to do a new set of paragraphs, and we're going to add the button, which is an input. It's going to be input type, and it's going to be submit. And the name, I'm just going to say submit. Now, we want to put a value here, because the value is what you'll see, this submit inquiry. First of all, let me go over to our page, and let's do value equals, we'll just say submit form. Okay. Just check this real quick. Alright, so I'll save, reload. There's our table of checkboxes, and we have the submit form button. So the table is complete. The form is complete. I just wanted to add one or two things here. I want to get this away from the edge. It looks a little smushed on the edge, so what I want to do is move that over, and that is the main div right here. We have one main div, which is around everything down here in the body. And I want to add a style, and I just want to do a padding left. We'll just say 10 pixels. Save, reload, and now it's not up against the edge. The next thing I want to do with style is to move this. I want the labels to all be the same length, because these input boxes, they should all line up. This doesn't look very good. So what I'm going to do is do some styling in the head section. I believe I did this in an earlier chapter. I'm just going to add the style tags, and then we can do our styling in here. And what I want is, I want to take the labels, so I'm just going to write label, and then we can put all the styling for the label inside here. And what I'm going to do is, I'm going to display an inline block so that they can be on the same level, and then I just want to give a width. I'm just going to say a width of 150 for all the labels. So I'll save that, reload, and that looks much better. Everything's lined up. All the tables are 150 pixels wide, so I think we're pretty much there. Like I said, the next section we're going to be doing some CSS, some style sheets, and just making the site come together.